Hi everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Warhammer 40k Space Marines, the first one that came out in 2011 as it's getting a sequel very soon, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. It is kind of set in the same universe and maybe have some spiritual relations to Warhammer 40k Boulder Gun, which is another game we played earlier this year. And I sort of just want to get a little bit into it, because while I am not the biggest Warhammer fan, I don't know a whole lot of the lore in Warhammer. I know a good game when I see one, and I know a solid game when I play one. And Warhammer 40k Space Marines, the first one, is just that. It is an extremely solid experience to play from start to end. And while I didn't touch the multiplayer a whole lot, despite the fact that I've seen some clips from it and it looks pretty fun, I still wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences with it and how much I enjoyed it and why I enjoyed it so much. Because it does a few things that I genuinely think is extremely unique that I hope Warhammer 40k Space Marines 2 do as well, such as the scale and just sort of the entire setting and how well it's portrayed here. So let's just get straight into it. Warhammer 40k Space Marines is a 2011 third-person shooter, like I said. It does have a lot of the leftovers from that era of gaming, such as like the 4 weapon wheels for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. And it also has a lot of other small things that you can definitely see the age in it. Mainly in the sense of how you move and how sometimes it can feel a bit sluggish. However, as we've gone through the years and whatnot, obviously things have gotten slightly better with both movement and everything else. However, Warhammer 40k Space Marine does end up feeling really well and really good to play. Not only through the arsenal that you progressively unlock as you go through the main story, which is a really nice touch as it adds this layer of progression despite there being no skill tree and no tangible way to level up or like get new gear. The thing you do is just progress through the game and then you slowly unlock more guns and armor and stat boosts and stuff like that. It's just kind of unique and kind of cool. And the thing is, Warhammer 40k Space Marines is one of those games with a lot of finishers that does them, in my opinion, kind of subpar. Not because they aren't visceral. The finishers in Warhammer 40k Space Marines are top tier. They're still to this day they hold up as being some of the best enemy finishers I've seen. The visuality to them and just how you tear through the enemies, just it fits it perfectly. It fits you being a part of the Space Marines. You know, you're big and you're chunky and you are ready to beat the shit out of smokes. And while the game does do that part really well, the finishers are just really surprisingly good. However, it has to be said that the reason why I'm saying that they do it subpar is because doing the finisher animations you are susceptible to damage, meaning that you can actually die in the middle of a finisher, which is when you are healing. You are healing through finishing enemies. And the thing is, nobody likes really being killed while healing. It's kind of like a Souls-like in that regard. There's no fun in dying while you are like healing. Like you knew you were healing. Nobody enjoys that. So it becomes kind of this thing where sometimes it can feel a little bit awful because, you know, enemies are just gonna pounce you. There are a lot of enemies to shoot through. Like a lot to shoot. Because you see, this game takes place on a planet called Gaia, where the orcs are invading, and you as a Space Marine, you know, are sent down there to stop the orc invasion. And all sorts of wackiness ensues as you go for the big old gun. A gun that is extremely huge and accidentally end up allowing or opening a portal for the Chaos Marine to invade the planet. And again, from there, even more shenanigans and wackiness ensues as you go through the planet killing now both orcs, but also the Chaos Marines and watching them clash, along with clashing with the human factions. And it's overall a pretty interesting idea and setting, and I think it's one that actually ends up being really cool and paying off by the end. Because while the story is probably not the biggest reason why you're playing this game, they do have really likable characters. The characters are written in a way that did make me care about them, especially your battle brothers. Goddamn, that ending hurt. If you haven't watched it, I just fast forward warning here, because I am gonna just talk about the ending. I'll give you a few seconds to kick off here. Anyway, like I was saying, in the ending, you are sort of betrayed by one of your brothers, the last one left alive, and he sort of says that the only person who could withstand the warp energy for so long is somebody in league with the Chaos Marine. Or something to the equivalent. Again, I'm not a law expert here, I have no idea, you can correct me in the comments. But it's sort of that vibe you're getting, and he like gets you interrogated and puts you into prison, and the game ends. And the second one is apparently going to be a sequel from that, which is super interesting. And I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing how they continue the story from there. But you build up the swamp with your battle brothers throughout it. Like, there is one that is more battle hardened alongside of you, like your best friend, your brother in arms. And then there's the new guy that ends up betraying you. And it's very clear that that was gonna happen to some degree, right? Because he is written in a way where he is by the rules, which the two of you just aren't. Like, the other two battle brothers just aren't. They don't care about the book that much. And like, yeah, you can bend the rules a little bit. But it's like one of those dynamics that is just really interesting, and it's played into really well here. And that's a great thing. I really genuinely enjoyed all of the story parts of it. I loved seeing the Space Marine interact with both enemy factions, but also just the NPCs around the place. Because they do react to you being, the Space Marine, being basically, space royalty. It's pretty fucking cool. But of course, like any bolter gun enjoyer like myself can say, the guns feel good here too. And that is the most important thing here. Like, outside of everything else, the fact that the combat feels as good as it does even now, even in current day, is really impressive. Because from the start of the game to the end, you feel like a powerhouse. You feel extremely good walking around there and shooting. And there are a pretty big arsenal everywhere, from the heavy bolter gun to a normal bolter gun to multiple melee weapons, including a hammer and a jetpack, which is my favorite combo. Just find up there and just slap it down on the enemies. The laser cannon, which is another one of my favorites. And then there is a stalker bolter, which is a sniper rifle, and so on. There are a few different weapons you here to pick up on. And definitely enough to keep the game fresh over its roughly 7-hour span. It is fairly good. Like, it is really good actually in the terms of the arsenal and the way you get to play it. And like I said, I haven't touched the multiplayer a whole lot, but the single player campaign, goddamn, that thing slaps hard. It feels good to play, it feels good to sort of be a part of, with the weapons to upgrade, and the collectibles as you unlock and find these collectibles to give you a little bit extra lore and story about the place that you are in, which is nice. It's nice to see these sort of things be there. And that sort of also brings me to the other point. Another thing Warhammer 40k Space Marine does really well, and probably the thing it does the best in my opinion, is the sense of scale in Warhammer. Because if you go back and play the old Dawn of War games, they also have this like sense of scale when you swan in the Titan, and it's just gargantuan. Like, just a total war mod, I think it's called, for like the old Dawn of War Warhammer games, where they just allow you to spawn in these insanely big, units. And I think it's really interesting to see that sense of scale come to life in a third-person shooter. Because it does, and it does really come to life here. When you're walking around, you see like these big, epic-looking guns, quite frankly, and you can see the cities and how the architects built it, and how it was a grand gesture to humanity's, everlasting empire. Things like that. Things that are just kind of inherently dope because they are meant to be breathtaking, because they're meant to be a statement of power. And you can see them being placed all over. They comment on it in the game with like a bridge at one point or another, and it's true. It took me a little time to realize it, but it's actually in a lot of places in the game, even just in the early areas when you're walking up to this giant cannon, and it's just magnitudes bigger than anything we have built in real life, and it's epic. There is some sense of scale that it just gets conveyed really, really well. And the same thing can be said about the amount of enemies that are there, because this is supposed to be an orc invasion you're here to stop. So of course there are gonna be millions and millions of orcs, and it feels like there are a lot of fucking orcs for you to chew through and kill. Like, there probably are millions, but it definitely does feel like when you are being attacked that there are a lot of orcs. Like, it seems like a realistic scenario, in the sense that there are really that many of them here. It isn't like GTA where you like kill an enemy and then there's like an infinite amount of policemen, and that's kind of weird, right? Like, but here there is a infinite amount of orcs, or like a virtually infinite amount of orcs, because there are just so fucking many of them. With all the tools that you have at your disposal to kill them, there is a lot of ways to go about clearing a path for yourself, if you may. One of my favorite of which is, like I talked about, the hammer and the jetpack, which allows you to shoot up into the air and then slam into the ground force style, just doing a huge AoE and killing everything around you. The jetpack is great without it as well, but it's just really fun to play with it and the hammer, just because of the power combo. And I think the developer knew. They gave it to you by the end of the game as well, so it's like kind of one of those things where they knew that thing slapped hard. They were well aware. And in general, melee combat does really feel good here. It can be a bit floaty at times, and like I said, the finishes can be a bit annoying because they aren't invulnerable like you do say damage doing the finisher, which is kind of annoying. But at the same time, it's also really visceral. They made the combat in general less, and there's just something so satisfying about like 4 small orcs spin around punching you. You should turn around with your chain sword and you just hammer them all to death. You just cut them over. There's something really satisfying and intensely great about that, especially in the setting of Warhammer, where you are supposed to be this big and strong guy. And like I said, there is a PvP multiplayer. It is a 2011 game where the trend was to add a PvP multiplayer to literally everything. And it's probably alright from what I've seen. I've seen some gameplay from it. It seems to be fun enough. I haven't played it a lot myself, it just didn't speak to me, it's not why I'm there. But I would say if you get the chance, definitely try out Warhammer 40k Space Marines. Some of you might just have it laying around. I know I had it. From at some point, I think it might have been free on Steam, and I've just ended up picking it up. There's like a good chance that that's the case, and if it is, just go ahead and if it's there, play it, have some fun with it, because it is a genuinely good game. And that's about it for me. I just wanted to say thank you all for the support again on the Souls franchise I've covered recently. It's been kind of crazy to see. I will be diversifying myself more over the next coming months. In this week, or like this 2 weeks between the next big upload and now, I have a video on the entire Mr. Beast situation planned, and I have a video on the new Valve game planned, as I have gotten access to it. And then we're gonna do the next big game in 2 weeks-ish time. So yeah, that's the plan for now. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all enjoyed this video as well. And if you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And you know what to do, like you're smart enough. And, I hope you have a wonderful day going ahead of you, and I hope you have a wonderful evening if it's evening at your place. I'll see you later.